Well, yeah, they need to print a hoser that is just like something stupid. Like if the opponent casts a spell and no mana was spent to cast it, you can reveal this from your hand to counter it, and like or like maybe an adventure creature or something. Because you need a free counter to counter free spells,
Yes.
or they need to ban the free spells.
At this point, why not just shift Days into Modern? Yes, it would make Murktide into a Legacy deck, but I mean, it would fix this, and then we could just ban Days in Legacy. Welcome back to the Unreal Salt Mine, the internet's first and foremost cutting-edge discussion on why Magic the Gathering is shit, and maybe, if we have any ideas for it, other stuff too. Anyway, I brought James Krake back on to tell me why Living End... actually, I kind of forgot what Living End was. Okay, James, what's the problem with Living End?
The problem with Living End is you can't interact with it. It is a combo deck that is, by definition, supposed to be... You're supposed to be able to interrupt a combo so they don't just get 20 power on turn 3 and laugh at you.
Yes.
But free spells make it incredibly busted right now.
All right. So, for reference, Living End is the one where it basically turns everything in your graveyard onto the battlefield and kills everything else you have.
Right. So it's one of the Cascade decks, which I'm almost getting to the point that they should just ban Cascade. Because or like I don't know, there are too many ways to play spells for that have CMC 3 and up. Like for a fast format, that's supposed to be a restriction, but it's just literally not anymore between Living End and Crashing Footfalls.
Right. Okay.
They run 8 spells, Violent Outburst and Shardless Agent, full play sets each. And whenever they cast that, they just hit Living End, and then nukes the board, so it kills your game plan. And then all the like 5/5 Riverwinder Nagas and Wavebreaker Leviathans and everything that they've been cycling to draw their combo pieces. All those things they've been cycling into the graveyard, those come back to the board. And on like turn 3 or 4, whenever they feel like doing it, they'll have 17, 18, 20 power, and they just hit you. That's what it used to be.
Right. Yeah, that's what I remember it as.
They now have Grief and Pact of Negation.
So that makes sense because, like, obviously I was thinking, well, how do you kill Living End? Side in your graveyard hate, side in your hand attacks, side in your counter magic. But, I mean, you give them Grief, which is effectively just unmask in Modern, just chow the best thing in their hand, and then Pact of Negation, Force of Negation,
It's
just
worse
kill their
than
counter
that.
magic.
Oh, it's
How is it
worse.
worse than that?
Grief goes to the graveyard after they use it, so when they Living End, say you have anything to kill them after that, so they don't have haste. But when Grief comes back, they get to Thoughtseize you again from the Living End.
Oh, that is sore. That is just a blowout, actually.
Yep, they also are running Architect of Will, so they get to basically restack your deck and make sure that you're not going to top deck an answer. And Architect of Will can, of course, be pitched to either casting Grief for free or casting Pact of Negation for free.
Force of Negation, you mean? Pact is the one where you cast for free and then you lose the game next turn.
I would rather that they're playing Pact of Negation. Holy crap. That'd make the deck so much easier to deal with. But yeah, so right now, Living End basically cycles every turn. They never miss a cycle, which fills up their hand with like creature lands if they which they can pitch to cast Grief or Pact of Negation for free, so that on turn 1 they take your answer with Grief. And then turn 3, when you're trying to interrupt them again with your second answer that you've gotten, they just force it.
Yep.
And then they cascade and get 20 power because they had 2 free spells to deal with you. So you would need to get to 3 spells in order to actually interrupt Living End.
And at that point, I mean, yeah, if you're playing like blue-white control or maybe some reanimator variants, that's a reasonable request. But the problem is if you're just playing Burn or you're playing Jund, you're just fucked. Because there's not even a guarantee that all of your interaction will actually mean jack. Like, what's a Prismatic Ending going to do against Living End? Fuck all.
Correct. So I got annihilated by it, which is why I'm salty, because I'm tuning up a Rakdos creatureless burn deck. Like, literally the only card that's good against Living End that I can find is Endurance. Which is because it's a free spell, but it requires you to be in green.
Yeah, and that's already a big ask if you play burn.
Yeah, there is no good reason to have green in a burn deck.
At that point, you might as well just play Jund.
Like, there's Destructive Revelry, but
Yeah, that is an issue. It's like maybe Ancient Grudge, but then again, you really bank on your opponent playing artifacts that are worth destroying and worth putting another color in your deck.
dude, like you already have red. Like, you're already running Smash to Smithereens.
Yes.
Like, Ancient Grudge just isn't worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this now, and like, not even Unlicensed Hearse is really going to take the wind out of Living End sales. Because yeah, it shall do things per turn.
Living Unlicensed Hearse, man. It's not a creature on the stack.
So really, the reason this deck is good is because of Modern Horizons. Because if you look at it, the only actual stuff that makes this deck into a huge threat, as opposed to, a cute little combo deck, is Grief, is Force of Negation.
Yep,
They're
it's free
playing spells.
Living End used to
playing free
be
spells.
like a fun B tier deck in Modern. Like, it definitely got wins. Like, it definitely won tournaments, depending on what other people were playing and how good the player was. But now it's literally like it's up there with Omnath and Murktide.
That good, huh?
It seems to be. Like I said, man, they get like 17 power on turn 4. Murktide has like 6 power on turn 4.
Yeah.
And they can always just wait for the Murktide to resolve and then cascade.
Yeah, and another thing I realized with Living End is, let's say you have your 3 disruption spells and you successfully deal with Living End. You can just draw another Cascade dude and do it again. It's not a combo like Belcher that if you counter it, they're kind of fucked.
Yeah, counter spells can deal with Living End, but who the hell is running counter spells except Murktide? You can't build a meta that's just like, oh, well, this archetype can beat it. This is what's everyone else supposed to do.
Yeah, it just shrinks the meta. Pretty unreasonable, man. So, like, what would you propose to then deal with this, apart from, like, just banning Modern Horizons too?
Well, so if they won't ban the elementals, they need to print something like Mental Misstep. Let me double check the rules text on Mental Misstep. I believe Mental Misstep only targets CMC 1.
I think you're thinking of Nyx.
No, this is the card I'm thinking of. They need to reprint this, except make it say counter target spell with converted mana cost at most 1.
That would work. I mean, I was referring to, Nyx from Future Sight, 1 mana, counter target spell if no mana was spent to cast it.
Well, the reason I posted Mental Misstep, by the way, give me the link to that card so I can see it, is Mental Misstep, you don't need to be in blue to cast it.
Yeah, that's why it's good.
It's currently banned. That's lovely. Well, yeah, they need to print a hoser that is just like something stupid. Like, if the opponent casts a spell and no mana was spent to cast it, you can reveal this from your hand to counter it, and or maybe an adventure creature or something. Because you need a free counter to counter free spells, or they need to ban the free spells.
At this point, why not just shift Days into Modern? Yes, it would make Murktide into a Legacy deck, but, I mean, it would fix this, and then we could span Days in Legacy.
Well, again, but that's blue.
Well, look, the thing with Days is that you can sort of jam it into non-blue decks, because you just need islands. You don't actually need blue mana to cast Days.
Well, the thing is, that wouldn't even stop Living End, because they can just wait until they have a 4th. That just puts them on a 4th mana. Oh, counter unless you pay 1. I know that they're running Days, because I know it's in the meta now. Therefore, they just wait till turn 4, which they're usually on anyways, just so they can fill their yard up more. and then they just pay the 4th mana.
Right. Shit, what else does actually slow down living end? I think, like, yeah, because the problem is you're guaranteed to have to
As
fight
a
through
Rakdos
grief.
Burn player, I have 2
Yeah.
cards that I think are actually useful. And my
Yeah.
mistake for not having them in my deck in the first place, I just built the list, I'm tuning it up. First of all, is Rakdos Charm is like the perfect card in the current meta because you can exile their yard at instant speed, so they can't force it because you can do it on their turn. Or you can let them
Yes.
resolve it, get 6 creatures on the board, and then every creature deals 1 damage to its controller, so your Rakdos Charm is now better than Boros Charm.
Right.
Or destroy target artifact. For other matchups like Hammer Time, you can just, break the hammer. Or someone puts a Chalice on 1, tries to shut down my entire deck, therefore main board Rakdos Charms, I can break the Chalice and cast all my spells again.
Right.
The other idea that I have as a Rakdos Burn player is I'm actually going to put Kroxa into my sideboard. I know that kills me inside because I want to be truly creatureless burn. But what are they going to do against Kroxa?
Yeah, it's like if Kroxa comes out, Kroxa's out. There's not really a practical way to deal with that.
So if they grief it on turn 1, like they're almost obligated to do it because they need all the cards they can get in their hand, especially after griefing. Like that's the one thing that does screw them up is they do run out of cards. I imagine 8-Rack has a good time against them. But like if they grief it, it just comes back when they cast Living End, and they have to discard again. And if they can't, they get bolted. So against some decks like this, Kroxa is basically 6 damage for 1 card, which is better than Shrapnel Blast.
All right. I think that could have potential, certainly.
Yeah, I'm on Scryfall right now, and literally search for all creatures that can possibly interact with Living End. It either has to be instant speed, so I can do it on their turn, or it has to be a creature to get around the counterspell. And Rakdos is just screwed in that regard.
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective this would be, but one thing that occurred to me was try Magus of the Moon. Because, Living End has to have several colors, so if you just turn their mana off.
Like I could just run. Well, the thing is, if I did that, I'd have to take out every black spell in the deck. Or I'd have to board out all my Bump in the Nights and my Oni Cult Anvils, because I don't run. Aside from my personal issue, yeah, Blood Mooning them probably does work, except for the fact that they'll take it with grief. I guess they can't counter it if you're running Magus of the Moon. But that's still a 3-drop, and they can cascade before you. If they're on the play, they get their turn 3 first.
Yes. Yeah, that is the risk. Another idea I had was maybe a Chalice on 0. Again, you do have the problems of, well, what if they have interact?
Yes, Chalice on 0 does work.
Yeah, but if you just happen to be a Chalice deck anyway, slap down a Chalice and...
Yeah, unfortunately, Chalice is a $60 card right now, which means it costs more than the rest of my deck combined.
Yeah, it's good. It's a staple in several formats.
Chalice needs a reprint. That's another thing that they could do. Yeah, they need to reprint Chalice pronto, preferably at rare rarity.
Did you see in the Dominaria United set, we're going to get a Liliana of the Veil reprint?
As a Boomer Jund player, I might start playing Standard or something now that Lily's in there.
I have no idea how they were convinced, or how somebody got convinced to, let's say, oh yeah, let's just reprint Lily of the Veil, one of the best planeswalkers ever in Standard. But I definitely want to see the sparks fly now.
Well, judging from what I'm seeing online, Standard is a complete mess right now because of Greasefang. And I think Greasefang will be using Lily of the Veil. So they're making a bad situation worse.
Yeah, because with Greasefang, you need the artifacts in the graveyard for Greasefang to be good. And Lily lets you discard cards. It's an unpleasant synergy.
Lovely design, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah,
But one thing that I am pretty happy with in this set, just like on a personal level, is not that they finally printed the Raven, but they used the exact art from like the Magic Origins promo of Ravenman. It's the same Chris Ryan art for that. I just thought, wow, man, that somebody remembered that existed. That's pretty cool. I don't think the card's necessarily going to be particularly good, but it exists.
You see the new Karn?
Let me pull up the Karn right now. I have not yet seen the new Karn.
It appears to be the worst Karn they've ever printed.
Karn Living Legacy. So he makes a tap Power Stone token. For reference, this guy costs 4 mana, which you could just play the other card for 4 mana.
Yeah.
So you get really slow ramp for a +1. Your -1 is pay mana. And then, look at that many cards on the top of your library. Put one of those cards in your hand. So it's like a shitty scry. And then the -7 is you can tap your artifacts to ping your opponent. And this is at Mythic. Like, why make this? What deck needs this?
I don't know, man. Commander. They wanted to give Commander another colorless Planeswalker.
Yeah, the problem is you can't even use the Karn Living Legacy as Commander because it doesn't have the you may use this Planeswalker as your commander
It's
text.
another Karn that cares about like building your board state. Like, it's totally playable in your 99.
Dude, saying something's playable in Commander means nothing.
Yeah.
Everything is playable in Commander.
That's why they designed. That's what it was designed for, not for constructed.
Well, that's just insulting. Like, imagine you see, oh, look me, I'm going to buy a booster pack of Dominaria United. Wow, I cracked a Mythic. Maybe I'll get a Liliana the Veil. No, fuck you. You get a Karn. That's I mean, at that point, I'd rather just play around against Living It.
Okay, so they actually did print a creature that I just saw because I'm on Mythic Spoiler right now.
Right.
Yo, man, Mono Green just got a brand new toy.
What is it?
Ramp to Defiler of Vigor.
Okay.
Cast your wing cons for free afterwards.
Yeah, that's just good. Defiler of Vigor. So Phyrexian Worm, already that's a pretty rich combination. I'm reminded of Massacre Worm, which is one of my favorite cards that is playable in EDH. Right, so Defiler of Vigor, as an additional cost to cast, green permanent spells can pay 2 life. Those spells cost green less to cast. And whenever you cast a green spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each permanent you control. Well, that sounds like it could make Green Stompy slightly better.
You just run it with like Steel Leaf Champion, Dorvo. I guess at this point you're a green devotion deck. So you'd be running Nylea's Disciple just to refuel.
Oh, so it allows you to pay 2 life for every green perp. I thought you could only pay like 2 life once. Because like the way I'd read the card said, because it doesn't say you can do this multiple times.
They could have given us a green combo card, but no, never mind. I apologize. I got my hopes up. I thought maybe they printed a good card.
No, they don't print good cards. They just print busted cards now.
Honestly, you probably could still jam that into some kind of elf deck or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like hypothetically, you could play it in some kind of elf variant. The problem is when you're talking elves, there's always Craterhoof Behemoth. So at that point, you have to say, like, is Defiler of Vigor objectively better than Craterhoof Behemoth? No, it's just not. I mean, it's good. I mean, I would like to pay life instead of mana to cast elves, but the problem is elves make so much mana that you don't need to use another resource. You just have the mana to cast your elves. Not sure if Defiler of Vigor is necessarily going to help, but I mean, hey, it's playable in Commander. Nope.
For the record, there is another line of text on Defiler of Vigor that whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So there's quite a bit
that's good in draft.
with it. But okay.
Yeah, like it's not a bad card. It's just I'm thinking, why would I go out of my way to play this card?
Well, if it can't reduce win cons to 0, I can't think of a good reason to. Outside of maybe there's some kind of stompy deck for standard now, but even then, that's probably just going to lose to the rat.
Yeah, it's like saying, well, oh, I can cast Llanowar Elves for free. Llanowar Elves don't win games unless you're playing. Well, yeah, they don't win games unless you're like in 2014 and you've got a liquid metal coating deck. But speaking of Cascade deck, you think the mechanic should necessarily just be bad? Like we just scrape Cascade from Modern?
I think at least getting rid of the 3-drops, I think there's a genuine argument for it because it is just such a volatile mechanic. Because they want to keep using like suspend and other other alternate casting restrictions where it's not the CMC, it's something else, and Cascade keeps getting around that. Like, I don't think they're ever going to reprint Cascade. What we have is what we have probably for the rest of Magic, or until they're really scraping the bottom.
I think we might see like 1 or 2 in Commander or in a Horizons product, but yeah, I can not see them ever printing Cascade in Standard again. That's just a mistake.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, like, Cascade, on the face of it, gets better the higher the cost of your Cascade spell is. But it gets less specific the higher it is, because like you can build your deck with no CMC 1 or CMC 2. You currently can't if you also need to avoid all your CMC 3s.
At that point, you're just so slow that you could just die to hammer time before you cast a spell.
Yeah, dude. I actually do have to give them some credit because balancing Modern right now just has to be a nightmare. Because there are like independent strong strategies like Hammer Time, and there will always be Tron. There's basically nothing you can take out of Tron short of the Urza lands that would actually disrupt Tron, notably.
You just have to ban every good high mana card to nerf Tron at this point.
Yeah, like the only thing that could be targeted is like Expedition Map. But even then, like that hardly does anything to them.
Yeah, because you still have Elvish Reclaimer, which is just Expedition Map, but on legs and reusable. I gotta say though, looking through the spoilers for Dominaria United, this one looks pretty spicy. Cut Down. I think this one will actually, see play.
Which one? Cut Down?
Yeah.
I was looking
one
at
black
that.
instant.
I don't. Maybe it will in Legacy, but there's basically no win con that hits in Modern. A unpunked Murktide survives Cut Down. It can't hit Omnath. It can't hit Tarmogoyf. Typically, what does Cut Down actually hit?
Yeah, I am talking in reference to Legacy here. Because it hits a lot of the Delver 1-drops. It can hit most of the Death and Taxes or Maverick stuff. And yeah, it can hit a small Legislator or a small Goyf. You can definitely kill one of those with that.
Okay. But Fatal Push exists.
And it can also then pick off things like Goblin Rabble Master as well, which
but Fatal Push
is always appreciable because yes.
So you need to be
I'm saying they just made another Fatal Push.
At 3 CMC creatures that don't have power and toughness combined 5 or more. Or I guess it can be 5. So, but like, Cut Down, I guess, hits Magus of the Moon. Congratulations, that's the most relevant creature I can think of. Cut Down is better than Fatal Push.
Goblin Rabble Master. It kills Goblin Rabble Masters.
Who runs Rabble Master except me?
The 3 mana.
Who runs Rabble Master except me? Rabble Master can't. There's no way it's in Muxus plan.
It's not in the Muxus plan. It's in a different Goblins deck. It's in Moonstompy, or also known as Mono Red Prison. Because some guy realized, hey, in Legacy, you can just build a Mono Red Prison deck. Because, you have all the good red mana ramp. You have Blood Moon. Just play Mountains as your mana base. play a bunch of good Planeswalkers, play Chalices, play some fast mana, and then make Goblin Rabble Master your win con, because if your opponent can't cast spells, you can just drown them in goblins.
That sounds like a lot of fun, except for that's like a $1,000 deck from what you just said.
I mean, look, it's a legacy deck. Obviously, it's going to be $1,000 if you want it on paper. So yeah, cut down just, it gives goblins a hard time because a lot of the good goblins, apart from Moxus, are CMC 3. Like Chieftain, War Chief, those guys are CMC 3. Chain Whirler, Goblin King, CMC 3.
Okay, but you could also just be doing something to get the revolt trigger, like, say, a fetch land.
Yes, but my complaint here is that fetch lands aren't particularly consistent. Because the issue is you have to have the fetch, and you have to sit there waiting to crack your fetch in order to turn on revolt, which means you're effectively a land behind because you're waiting to kill something instead of just playing your cards at close.
Just play the monkey
So
and use treasure
that's why.
tokens. Come on, man. It's 2022.
I'm playing black in Legacy. I have to do something else, man. And the monkey is also banned in Legacy.
Oh my god, really? I didn't know that. Wait, it's banned in Legacy but not in Modern?
Seriously.
That was...
I don't know why, but for some reason, Delver got stupidly good before people realized you could main board in Hydroblast and Pyroblast. I mean, it's still really good, but it was oppressive. And so people said, you know, we need to ban something from Delver to make it less bullshit. And so instead of doing the logical thing and just fucking banning Daze or Murktide, they said, oh yeah, let's just ban the monkey. And so now the monkey is banned.
Well, to be fair, that means you don't have to deal with the monkey.
Yes, I mean,
now.
that is objectively better than dealing with the monkey, but I'd rather they just, you know, ban Daze and let me just, you know, cast my spells on curve. I'm fine dealing with the monkey. The monkey is not the problem because Delver has an abundance of stupid one-drops. It can just play Delver of Secrets if the monkey is banned. It's like the issue with Tron that you pointed out earlier. Banning any specific one card outside of the core doesn't make a difference. You have to do something like ban EI or ban Delver.
I mean, don't they run
ban...
Dragon Rage Channeler?
Yes, they do. They run Darcy. So yeah, that's why I think banning the monkey isn't a great decision because they're just other things that do what the monkey does at approximately the same level.
All right. So you know what? Here's my proposal. They need to print a cycle of creatures so that every color gets one. That they have an adventure mode where if a spell is cast and no mana was cast to cast it, or spent to cast it, you can send your dude on an adventure and counter the free spell. That is the only thing I can think of to fix Modern right now, and that's basically doing the exact same problem that the Elementals did, where it's printing a cycle of creatures so powerful, everyone has to run them. Otherwise, ban the Elementals.
Yeah, I'd say ban the Elementals. Personally, I think another way to deal with it was just do what they kind of did with Dress Down in that, or Underworld Breach, in which you have this enchantment that dies at the end of turn. And I'd stick that onto Void Mirror and give it Flash. Make it cost 1. Make it cost life to cast, I don't care. Just whenever a player casts a spell this turn, no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter it. Just slap that in your...
It's actually almost silly how many variations you can come up with for ways to shut it off with new cards. That all it does is makes fair decks more viable. Wizards will never do it, though. Let's be real.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you there. They're just not going to own up to the fact that Modern Horizons 2 was a dog shit set. It was a third-rate deck. Ah, shit, I fucked up the reference. That's how bad it is.
See, you could do an
It's a third-rate set that makes fourth-rate decks.
Here's one for you. Make it a one-mana artifact that says that, like, I don't know, needs charge counters or something stupid, and it's sacrifice the artifact, counter spell with CMC equal to the number of charge counters it has. And you just leave it at 0. I don't know, but that wouldn't hit the elementals. I don't know, man.
I mean, I'd take it over nothing.
I actually did.
And on that note, well, this has been the Unreal Salt Mine. And I mean, Living End is still like a tier 1 deck because, the ongoing theme of this podcast is that the last few modern legal sets were mistakes. So yeah, until next time, shit man, I don't know. Sell a kidney and play Legacy. It's not much better, but it's better than this.
I'm about to make my own card game. Like, goddamn, I could do it better than them. I'm sure I could.
Tom is actually making his own card game.
Oh, maybe we should do an episode on that.
Yeah, we should get him in and diversify our content.
All right, till then, though.
Yeah, cheers.
I may have gone too far in a few places.